Shadow Hack. Chapter 931, Ancient God's Corpse Demon. Yang Kong, who stood behind Lang Yan, felt an indescribable sense of crisis in his heart, because of which he anxiously tapped with his foot. By relying on his intuition, he was convinced that the God ruins wouldn't be so simple. The Alliance would never arrange a God ruins completely lacking in any danger in the Night Pearl small world. Yet from the time they entered to the time the coffin lid was removed, they hadn't encountered anything other than an illusion. The easier it was, the more anxious he became. Moreover, his intuition was rarely wrong. Once he sensed that something was wrong, a crisis would definitely appear. Lang Yan and the two maids looked at Yang Kong anxiously tapping his foot, and a hint of confusion appeared in their eyes. They then looked at Li Yunmu standing beside the coffin. "Little brother, since Yang Kong has said that there's danger, you should quickly take out the godhood," Lang Yan said. "We should quickly leave the god ruins, then we can negotiate the matter of distribution. As for other matters, we can slowly talk over them once we're all safe." The moment he finished speaking, Li Yunmu pulled ancient god Ru Shao's hand and passed a strand of god power through his body. Then, the lifted hand smashed into his chest, instantly causing him to lose consciousness. Lang Yan looked at the young man with a dumbfounded expression, unable to react. What exactly was going on? He had told the little thing to take the godhood and walk away, so why was he acting like a deaf person and observing the corpse in which the godhood was stuck? "Brother Zhu Qingzi, does this junior brother of Profound Sword Pavilion have some inborn defects?" Lang Yan turned to inquire. Just as Zhu Qingzi was about to speak, Yan Wangkaiu hastily jumped out and said, "Oh right, junior apprentice brother is deaf." The moment she said those words, a loud howl which could be heard throughout the entire cave resounded from the coffin. One after another, layers of profound corpse gas spread out. A pair of delicate hands extended from the coffin, followed by two legs, and a body. When ancient god Ru Shao walked out, the corpse gas, it went inside his body through his nose and ears. Corpse demon. One of the people of the Yin Manor covered in the black fog examined the god-level corpse getting up. Soon after, a line came from the black fog, which was filled with a hint of excitement and anticipation. As for whether the man was scared or if he felt true excitement born from the bottom of his heart, only he himself knew. What concerned Lang Yan and 9 Palaces' white-gowned people, they were completely clear in their hearts that after encountering the corpse demon, it was much more important to subdue it compared to taking hold of the godhood. After all, corpse demons were the combat power of Yin Manor's disciples. Upon encountering one of such strength in the god ruins, the Yin Manor wouldn't join the fight with White Gowns and Lang Yan over the godhood. A hint of madness flashed in the eyes of Lang Yan after seeing the golden light in the chest of the god's corpse demon. As long as he only needed to fight with the people of 9 Palaces over the godhood, his chances of winning would be higher. Lang Yan looked at the people in the black mist and said, "Yin Manor's people, you all can attack. This corpse demon will be yours, but hand over the godhood afterwards." "No problem, after I get this corpse demon, I won't join the contest between you over the godhood," a voice said from the black mist. The next instant, the black fog, which originally very dark and thick, split open. It formed into 8 balls of black fog in front of the corpse demon. 8 long golden ropes flew out like hands, binding ancient god Ru Shao, and a pool of blood passed from the end of the 8 golden ropes connected with the black god. The blood flowed along the golden ropes and entered the skin of ancient god Ru Shao, forming 8 strange imprints. "Ah!" Ancient god Ru Shao, whose eyes were closed, released a loud howl and opened his eyes, revealing pitch-black pupils. The 2 black dragons on his shoulders also awakened with black flames on their tongues. Ancient god Ru Shao turned to look at the people all around him. His gaze went past the white gowns as well as Lang Yan and firmly fixed on the 8 disciples of Yin Manor. Before anyone could react, he then disappeared. "This is impossible. How can the 9 seals of Yin Manor be unable to seal this corpse demon?" the disciple of Yin Manor standing at the front said as the black fog surrounding his body rushed forth. "Pa! The corpse demon appeared out of nowhere in front of the Yun Manor's disciple and extended his hand into the black fog. There was only a loud noise, and the black fog scattered. Black clothes and some ashes fell to the ground. Too bad, this is an ancient god's corpse demon. We don't have the power to subdue it, so we will retreat first. The disciples of Yin Manor recognized that the corpse demon was one intentionally arranged by the power of Yin Manor in the Night Pearl small world. According to the records of Yin Manor, the corpse demon was formerly an ancient god of the origin world. An ancient god was equivalent to a golden immortal. This kind of existence had been refined into a corpse demon by accumulating a mouthful of resentment, so his strength was only slightly weaker than when he was alive. Apart from being unable to use divine energy and abilities, he could kill a true immortal by just relying on the ancient god-level physical body. Yet their group was composed of peak-stage tribulation-passing experts, so standing in front of an ancient god's corpse demon was the same as courting death. After speaking, the remaining 7 black fogs combined together, and a bright light flashed, which they entered together. Lang Yan took note of it and turned toward the 9 palaces' white gowns and said, "S.H.A.D.O.W brothers, are you all going to leave as well, or will you follow me to subdue this corpse demon?" "We will try." The 9 disciples of 9 palaces released their wooden umbrellas and raised them into the sky. While rotating, they flew toward the corpse demon from all sides. 9 wooden umbrellas fixed in their positions as if they had been placed there meticulously. The originally ordinary wooden umbrellas erupted with layers of powerful pressure, and a silk thread flew out of the tops and bottoms of the umbrellas. It twisted in the air as it went toward other wooden umbrellas. In a flash, the corpse demon was trapped in the spell formation of 9 palaces formed from threads. When Lang Yan saw that, he smiled. Good, good. S.H.A.D.O.W brothers come from 9 palaces, so this spell formation naturally isn't ordinary. The corpse demon trapped in the spell formation stopped for a moment, but just when Lang Yan finished speaking, he slowly lifted his leg and pulled the threads of 9 palaces spell formation. They were cut off, and the corpse demon charged out of the spell formation. Lang Yan. Who could say what was wrong with him on that day? His face was being slapped again and again, right as he finished talking. Once the threads were snapped, the 9 palaces spell formation disappeared, and the 9 wooden umbrellas returned to their owners. The 9 people looked at each other with a hint of apprehension in their eyes. After dying, the corpse demon had no soul. To deal with such a soulless creature, the method was to arrange a spell formation to trap it. So they had used a spell formation from the 9 palaces. Once anyone was caught in it, the white gowns would feel multitudes of changes in the spell formation. Yet the ancient god's corpse demon came out of the 9 palaces spell formation, which made the head of the white gowns become vigilant. We, the disciples of 9 palaces, are unable to deal with this ancient god's corpse demon. Brother Lang Yan, we will leave this godhood to you, goodbye. After those words, a fragment of the key appeared in the hands of the leader of white gowns. It floated in the air to form a streak of white light which engulfed the disciples of 9 palaces. Only Zhu King's and Lang Yan's groups remained in the cave. Lang Yan looked at Zhu King's and said with a smile, "Brother, this time we will need to rely on you. This ancient god's corpse demon is extremely formidable, so only the lineage of sword immortal can have the strength to contend against it. What do you think?" Chapter 932, Repeated Misfortunes. When Zhu Kingzi heard those words, he began to frown slightly, which he had never done before. Although his benevolent heart made it difficult for him to refuse the requests of others, especially the requests of Lang Yan, who had provided him 3 extra spaces in the quota of people entering the Night Pearl small world, what they were confronting at that moment was corpse demon of an ancient god. Its strength was even more formidable than that of a god. Although he belonged to the lineage of sword immortals and his formidable strength allowed him to challenge enemies above his realm, there was a limit to how tyrannical his power could be. He could barely resist an initial stage true immortal, so there was no way that he could be an enemy for an ancient god's corpse demon. Zhu Kingzi turned to look at Li Yunmu lying next to the coffin, but he couldn't sense any vitality from the man's body. His brows creased, for he had no idea what exactly the Golden Immortal Almighty was thinking of doing. If a true immortal went up against an ancient god's corpse demon, they would be killed instantly, but if an ancient god's corpse demon went up against a golden immortal powerhouse, they would be crushed straight away. So what was Li Yunmu doing? He had observed the lid of the coffin and even lifted the hand of the ancient god's corpse demon. But even if that was forgotten, he was a golden immortal powerhouse. His cultivation was similar to that of the corpse demon before he died, and their physical bodies were both at ancient god level, so how could Li Yunmu have lost consciousness after being hit by a single slap from the corpse demon? Zhu Qingzi did not believe it. An energy fluctuation flashed at the corner of his eyes, and Zhu Qingzi saw a thread of black mist rise from Li Yunmu's body. It flew in Lang Yan's direction and coiled around his legs, then rose up, forming a pair of black hands at his waist. The next instant, the key fragment of God Ruins appeared in the hands of the black mist. Every God Ruins required a key to enter, and the key fragment in the hands was precisely that. Lang Yan had one, just like the people of Yin Manor and Nine Palaces' disciples. Without the key fragment, they would be trapped inside the cave due to their tribulation passing stage cultivation. The black mist hand swallowed the key fragment and returned to the body lying prone on the ground. Zhu Qingzi was watching from beginning to the end, but Lang Yan as well as Yang Kong and the two maids did not anything amiss since their attention was completely focused on the corpse demon. Oi, idiot, you shouldn't agree and continue acting as their lackey, don't you know that? This metal attribute's godhood is for you, since I made a promise to your younger apprentice sister. Now take your junior disciples to the side and use this key fragment to leave. Zhu Qingzi followed the order of the voice and saw a transparent Li Yunmu handing him the key fragment while his main body was still lying on the ground without anyone paying it any attention. After hearing Li Yunmu's words, he nodded in agreement. Before them was an ancient god's corpse demon, so how could he possibly continue helping Lang Yan as his lackey and go to fight against the corpse demon? He really couldn't continue acting as usually, for it would be pure idiocy. He had already been Lang Yan's lackey several times over the years. Considering that Lang Yan had provided him with 3 extra slots, he had already repaid his kindness long ago. Lang Yan's gaze shifted from the corpse demon after he noticed that there wasn't any response from Zhu Qingzi. He turned to look and saw Zhu Qingzi pulling Yan Wangqiu and the twins behind him while they retreated to the edge of the cave with a key fragment. Lang Yan subconsciously opened his spatial ring to take a look and found that the key fragment he owned had disappeared. When he looked up to see the key fragment in Zhu Qingzi's hand once more, the faint smile on his face disappeared, and he gloomily said, "Brother Zhu Qingzi, when did Profound Sword Pavilion teach you stealing? If you hand over the key fragment right now, I can pretend that this matter never happened. But if you continue persisting with your way, then you should think about your section." When Yan Wangqiu saw the key fragment in Zhu Qingzi's hand, she was slightly startled. But without waiting for her to ask about it, Zhu Qingzi looked at Lang Yan and said calmly, "Brother Lang, come out of here alive before threatening me." He then turned the key fragment in reverse, creating a white light which pulled them inside. The white light had only been present for an instant, and Zhu Qingzi and his fellow disciples disappeared without any trace, returning to the mountain outside. In the cave, Lang Yan and his 2 maids were looking at the place where Zhu Qingzi disappeared with a dumbfounded expressions. The 3 of them hadn't realized that Zhu Qingzi this time was different compared to the past. Yang Kong looked at the ancient god's corpse demon, and his complexion went pale. He could sense the strength of the corpse demon. Yet the only way to leave the god ruins, the key fragment, had disappeared, which drove him crazy. "Without the ruin fragment, we will all die here." Yang Kong shrieked as he continued tapping his foot against the ground. "Young Master Lang, what should we do now?" The 2 maids frowned while looking at the corpse demon walking in front of them. "What about that restriction-destroying seal bestowed upon you earlier? Usually, without the key fragment, those without the strength of a true immortal or above didn't have any way to leave the god ruins. That was because when the Alliance created the god ruins, they had intentionally sealed them off from all around. But the two mates of Lang Yan were clear that Lang Yan had secretly used his authority in the clan as well as the higher position in the alliance to come, so he wouldn't have entered the god ruins with just a key fragment. He also had to have an even higher level restriction breaking seal which could open the sealed god ruins. The restriction breaking seal was bestowed by the upper echelons upon him because they knew that the god ruin this time was different from other ones. The godhood concealed inside it was an extremely precious godhood of an ancient god. Oh right, I still have the restriction breaking seal. After being reminded by the two maids, Lang Yan recalled the restriction destroying seal bestowed upon him by the upper echelons. With this restriction destroying seal, he wasn't very anxious. He should first think of a way to obtain the ancient god's godhood stored in the corpse demon. He shifted his gaze to the corpse demon in front of him, and a smile appeared on his lips. We four will try our best to get our hands on the godhood inside the corpse demon. Lang Yan saw that the two maids seemed to be at a loss and that his sense of crisis in Yang Kong's heart had made him go crazy. If you all want to leave, then attack it with me. Li Yunmu had concealed to the side while listening to the conversation between Lang Yan and the two maids. Upon hearing about the way they were going to leave, his eyes flashed. He wanted to take a look at it, and he entered Lang Yan's spatial ring and grabbed the restriction-destroying seal. Without it, there was no possibility of Lang Yan and the others leaving the god ruins. From the time they entered, Li Yunmu had felt nauseous after seeing Lang Yan's face as he used hypocritical reasons to compel Zhu Qingzi to act as his lackey. It was why he had awakened the ancient god's corpse demon, then pretended to lose consciousness and took the key fragment from Lang Yan. He then gave it to Zhu Qingzi to let him leave in order to conveniently settle the problem of Lang Yan and his group. After coming to the Night Pearl small world, the first person he had encountered was Zhu Qingzi. The talkative Zhu Qingzi and the timid yet earnest and a fan of chicken ribs Yan Wangkaiu as well as the twins who cultivated the secret technique and kept their mouths closed had left a good impression on him. Before them, he had believed that everyone from beyond the heavens was the same as Yin Son of Heaven. In the end, since Zhu Qingzi and others gave him a good impression, Li Yunmu naturally wouldn't let them get into trouble. Another reason for his actions was that ancient god Ru-Shao was buried alive in the coffin, so his heart was filled with resentment. As a god of the origin world, Li Yunmu wanted to offer the four disciples as a sacrifice to ancient god Ru-Shao. Chapter 933, Exterminated. The black pupils of the corpse demon zeroed upon Lang Yan and the others, and the two black dragons on his shoulders spat out scorching black flames. A tyrannical presence exploded from his body, and he bellowed, revealing his sharp fangs. The corpse gas then concentrated around him. Lang Yan looked at the corpse demon, slightly frowned, and his body exploded with peak tribulation passing stage strength. In his hand, he held a black seal paper with indecipherable runes scrabbled on it. He flung the paper in front of him, and it exploded in the air, triggering a powerful pressure. It turned into a chicken egg-sized thunder ball and shot forward, toward the corpse demon's body. When the thunder ball dispersed, it turned into electricity flowing into the corpse demon's physical body. Li Yunmu, who was standing on the side, looked at the black seal transformed into a thunder ball thrown by Lang Yan and couldn't help but smile. The thunder ball's power couldn't even injure a god, so how could it injure Ru-Shao, whose body was at ancient god level? Even if Lang Yan threw thousands of thunder balls, it would only tickle Ru-Shao. With such an attack, he probably wouldn't be able to last for even an instant. Corpse demon's gaze turned toward Lang Yan, and he furiously howled, infuriated by the thunder ball. He turned into a blur right away, and when he reappeared again, he was behind Lang Yan. Lang Yan, be a little careful. The two maids hiding at the back retreated without any hesitation. Thud. Lang Yan was thrown away and crashed into the cave's wall like a kite whose string was cut off. Yang Kong, who was originally standing to the side with a dumbfounded expression, retreated as he mumbled, "I told you to take the godhood and run away, but you all didn't listen. If you all continue to act like this, after I go out, I will ask Godfather to wipe out the powers behind you." Lang Yan spat out a mouthful of blood and furiously howled at the maids and Yang Kong. After saying that, he crawled up from the ground and looked at the corpse demon with a hint of anger in his eyes. You are nothing more than a corpse with an ancient god-level physical body, so how powerful do you think you are? He shouted out. A pile of black seals appeared in Lang Yan's hand out of nowhere, and he threw them toward the corpse demon. They all transformed into lightning balls in the air and flew straight at the corpse demon, where they ruptured and exploded with dazzling white light. Upon seeing it, Lang Yan took out a faint red seal which he flung toward the corpse demon. He didn't look at the two maids or Yang Kong when he attacked. Just a moment ago, he had spoken out ruthless words, and even if the three were somewhat afraid, they would definitely ally with him to attack the enemy. The maids followed him because he was the young master and the future master of Lang family and also had a voice in the alliance. The two women themselves were the top talents of Lang family's subordinate Power Bell Sound School, so as long as they followed Lang Yan, they would definitely obtain benefits. And Yang Kong also had the same thinking. But in the sealed area, the status of Lang family's young master wasn't anything special for the three of them. They were independent people, and if they determined that they could not stop the corpse demon, neither one of them would go forward to keep Lang Yan safe. But Lang Yan's words terrified the maids and Yang Kong. They were deeply afraid that their actions would affect their sex and even their families. The most important thing, however, was that the restriction-breaking seal to leave the god ruins was in Lang Yan's possession. After the three pondered it for a moment, they attacked. The maids, which came from the Bell Sound School and had curvy figures, swayed the small bells in their hands and released transparent sound waves. Yang Kong patted his back, which was like a small mountain, with his hand, and five-colored smoke advanced toward the corpse demon. The sound waves from the bells transformed into a rope in midair and twisted around the corpse demon. Lang Yan then threw the faint red seal in the air, which became samadhi fire. The slowly floating five-colored smoke in that time passed through the coffin. Right after, the coffin disappeared, leaving only a pool of liquid behind. The rope formed from the bell sounds twisted around the corpse demon, forming a transparent cocoon, and the samadhi flames passed through it to reach the corpse demon's body. Then, from a single spark, they spread everywhere. The five-colored smoke followed closely behind. Li Yunmu watched the four's attack with some interest. From how Lang Yan threw so many seals, it could be seen that Lang family walked the path of using runes. Only by being rich and overbearing could he throw out a pile of black seals. And what concerned the faint red seal which could transform into samadhi power that emitted a god-level presence, it could even cause some damage to the corpse demon. As for Bell Sound School's maids, they were similar to the holy daughters of Lakshmi city and walked the path of refining sound waves which could take the shape of any creature. However, the cultivation of the maids was at mid-tribulation passing stage, so the creatures created by the sound waves were unable to injure the corpse demon, just only obstruct him. The person who shocked Li Yunmu the most, however, was Yang Kong. Upon seeing him for the very first time, Li Yunmu had only felt that he was a lowly, wretched person with mid-tribulation passing stage strength. Afterwards, when ancient god Ru-Shao was still lying dormant, he had already noticed that something was wrong because of his good sixth sense. Apart from that, the five-colored poisonous smoke concealed on his back was extremely formidable and already emitted the presence of divine laws. The four people had wordlessly divided the work among themselves. The two maids used sound waves to trap the corpse demon, while Lang Yan and Yang Kong used their most formidable techniques to deal with him. But even when the four of them joined together to subdue the corpse demon, they could only hinder him and not kill him. When Ru-Shao was alive, he was an ancient god, so if his corpse demon was taken care of by a few tribulation passing stage youngsters, it would really be a miracle. The corpse demon looked like a burning person at that moment, and the five-colored poisonous smoke was like a fuel to the samadhi fire, making it burn even more intensely. A formidable pressure erupted from the corpse demon's body and sent the samadhi fire and the five-colored poisonous smoke in all directions. Bits of them fell on the two maids and burned them without giving them time to respond. They became ashes in just a few breaths. Yang Kong's eyes narrowed, and he tried to dodge the samadhi flame flying toward him. Yet as he took a step to the side, he felt an invisible wall obstructing him. The flying samadhi flames then fell on Yang Kong's protruding back and he burst into flames with continuous cracking sounds like a firework. After that, only Lang Yan and S.H.A.D.O.W were left in the god ruin. After shedding the fetters, the godhood buried in S.H.A.D.O.W's chest blossomed with golden light while metallic sparks rich with corpse poison flew toward Lang Yan. He dodged the samadhi flame, but when he saw the sparks of golden light filled with black gas releasing god-level pressure, his face instantly turned pale. He put his hand into his spatial ring to take out the restriction-breaking seal to leave the damned god ruin. The next instant though, he grew even paler, for he didn't find the restriction-breaking seal after fumbling inside the spatial ring for a few times. The golden light filled with specks of black smoke pounced on him, completely enveloping his body. A miserable shriek left Lang Yan's mouth, but that was it. The black smoke soon dispersed, leaving behind only a pile of dust on the ground. Chapter 934, Reborn. Once Lang Yan died, there was no living creature in the cave apart from Li Yunmu. The corpse demon of ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W was standing in front of the coffin without moving, like a statue. Previously, although the corpse demon S.H.A.D.O.W was in an abnormal state, it was dormant. However, due to Li Yunmu, who had used his divine power to wake S.H.A.D.O.W, he had moved. When the outsiders were exterminated, S.H.A.D.O.W became dormant once more. Li Yunmu glanced at him and slowly said, "Ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W, I will take you home and bury you there." Ancient gods, regardless of which world they belonged to, they were all-miters enjoying being worshipped by thousands. But ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W was sold by his master god with his cultivation sealed, then buried in a coffin while still alive. After dying, he was then turned into a god ruin in which the younger generation of Gumang real world would contest to obtain his godhood. Such a miserable fate could make anyone feel sorrowful. Since S.H.A.D.O.W was an ancient god of the origin world who had suffered such a calamity, Li Yunmu wanted to let him die completely and become a proper corpse, which he would take with him to the origin world and bury properly. As for the godhood, he would give it to S.H.A.D.O.W to let him comprehend the laws of metal attribute Grand Dao. But he didn't need to give him the complete godhood. Only 1/5 of it would be enough for S.H.A.D.O.W to comprehend the Grand Dao. Li Yunmu would bring back the rest of the godhood to carry out the changes in the world order. According to the system, the number of godhoods necessary for the reform wasn't small, so he had to save and collect whatever he could. After all, there were few godhoods to be found. After deciding that, Li Yunmu went to ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W and extended his hand toward the godhood concealed in his chest. At that moment, S.H.A.D.O.W, who was originally standing like a statue, opened his black eyes and locked them on Li Yunmu. He extended his hand to grab Li Yunmu's wrist, and the two black dragons on his shoulders snarled, spitting out balls of black flames. Upon seeing that, Li Yunmu wanted to pull his hand back, but an angry bellow echoed in his ears and his vision turned dark. "I hate it! I hate it!" A loud sound resonated in the darkness, as if it was coming from all directions without any source. The resentment accumulated within it resounded with Li Yunmu, and large waves appeared in his calm heart. He immediately knew that the voice belonged to ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W. Although he had never seen ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W, he was sure of it. After the darkness passed, a scene appeared before his eyes. It showed a desolate land with a light sparkling in the sky. From time to time, gods emitting divine light appeared, and their bellows echoed throughout the world. A figure dropped from the sky then. It had two black dragons on his shoulders. Their heads extended toward the sky and spat out large balls of black flame, which ignited the cracks in the sky. Ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W looked above as he loudly shouted out, "Xianming, you betrayed me." A spur-filled back appeared in the sky, before disappearing again. Ancient god S.H.A.D.O.W fell on the ground, creating a deep hole. After a moment, when he tried to come out of the deep hole, a large hand appeared in the space before his eyes. It grabbed him and pulled him into a crack in space. He was unable to resist it in the slightest. "So it was you." When he said those words, the scene suddenly changed. A youth clad in black emperor-like clothes was standing in front of a coffin. A domain appeared around his body, and it was filled with countless dead spirits flying around. The next instant, a smile appeared at the corner of the youth's mouth, and he extended his hand into the coffin and formed a four-direction black imprint at the space between ancient god Ru-Shao's eyebrows. "You must hate me, and your heart should fill with resentment. You must hate me more and more, increasing your resentment to the highest levels. After your soul is destroyed, and you become a corpse demon, I will come again to take you out." After the youth said that, he flung his hand in the air, and threads of laws appeared. They twisted like a string, forming a spell formation. For countless years after that, only the bellowing of ancient god Ru-Shao could be heard from the coffin as he constantly shouted one name. "I hate it! I hate it! How to, how to?" The scene disappeared, and Li Yunmu's vision returned to normal. He saw the black pupils of ancient god Ru-Shao, who was holding his hand, locked onto him. The man's mouth kept opening and closing as he repeated, "I hate." Li Yunmu frowned slightly. The hint of resentment left in ancient god Ru-Shao's physical body was still vivid in his mind. As it increased through the years, a part of his memories were also branded upon it. From those scattered memories, Li Yunmu learned that the person because of whom ancient god Ru-Shao was sealed alive in the coffin until his soul dissipated and he became a corpse demon was a friend. He was the father of Yin, son of heaven, the quasi-sage Yin Emperor. It was unknown whether Pangu and Yin Emperor were allied or whether the ancient god was used to exchange for some kind of benefit. After all, the memories branded in the resentment of ancient god Ru-Shao were scattered, and the real appearance of the owner of the large hand did not appear in his memories. During the Battle of Gods, Xianming had betrayed Ru-Shao, like Ru-Shao said just then. The two of them were allies at first, but during the crucial moment, Xianming, who was a subordinate of Pangu, turned traitor. But while inside the coffin, Ru-Shao thought about another name, H.A.C.K. He didn't think of Pangu, but rather H.A.C.K. Perhaps at that time Pangu and Yin Emperor were not allied, but the god named H.A.C.K. was an ally of Yin Emperor. Li Yunmu frowned slightly. Just how many of the gods at that time were in cahoots with Beyond Heavens and injured their fellow comrades of the origin world? After looking at the memories of ancient god Ru-Shao, he felt that he needed to be more vigilant. When so many ancient gods had collaborated with Beyond the Heavens, it's no wonder that true God was unable to discover it at the time. After saying that, Li Yunmu raised his hand to form a punch which was covered with divine power as it advanced to hit Ru-Shao. Bang! Just when the punch hit the chest of ancient god Ru-Shao, another hand grabbed Li Yunmu's wrist. He raised his head and saw that two dots of light had appeared in ancient god Ru-Shao's black eyes. They shone with a hint of intelligence, and a faint vitality appeared in Ru-Shao's body, but it was so weak that it could be blown away by a gust of wind. A new soul was born in Ru-Shao. Strange, a new soul shouldn't be born after one turns into a corpse demon, the system said in Li Yunmu's brain. Once he heard it, he also found it quite unusual. What is the meaning of this? Is ancient god Ru-Shao resurrecting? Rather than resurrecting, it would be better to say he is being reborn. The new soul which is born right now doesn't have much relation with ancient god Ru-Shao. But because he had already transformed into a corpse demon, perhaps this soul will have some of its former memories, the system said with some excitement in its voice. Since this Ru-Shao is being reborn, don't let this soul be destroyed. Take his godhood and let him join you in reforming the world. Perhaps you will gain some unexpected benefits. When Li Yunmu heard that, he nodded his head and looked at Ru-Shao holding his hands. Chapter 935, Yin Qi. In a palace in the Night Pearl small world, an enormous mirror was arranged, and it was rolling in the air like mercury. More than 10 people concealed in black mist were standing on both sides of the mirror, and all of them were disciples of Yin Manor. After a moment, the mirror's surface began to roll, and something rushed out of it. A black shadow descended at the center of the main hall. 2 Yin phoenixes were pulling a simple bronze chariot. Once it descended, a blonde coachman holding a golden whip looked all around and turned toward the veil over the coach. "Young master, we have reached the Night Pearl Small World," he said respectfully. After a moment, a languid voice of a man echoed from inside the chariot. "Finally! Godfather sent me to this Night Pearl Small World in the Origin World to subdue the ancient god's corpse demon. After I do that, I will take a trip to the Origin World and see where my disappointing younger brother was killed and by whom." The disciples of Yin Manor were kneeling on the ground on both sides, and they said in unison, "Greetings, Yin Son of Heaven." The white-faced coachman jumped from the chariot and pulled open the curtain from one side. A young man wearing a black gown with silk threads walked out of the chariot with a faint smile on his face. He looked at the Yin Manor's disciples kneeling in the surroundings and said with a smile, "What did you all call me just now?" "Greetings, Yin Son of Heaven." Their loud voices echoed in the main hall, and a satisfactory smile appeared on Yin Qi's face when he said, "Stand up. You all have been in this Night Pearl Small World for so many years. Have you found the traces of the god ruin hidden by the Godfather in that year?" When he said that, a group of Yin Manor's disciples standing at the back came to the front and knelt in front of Yin Qi. "Yin Son of Heaven, the god ruin buried by Emperor Monarch has been discovered." "Good, good, good." After hearing such good news right after coming to the Night Pearl Small World, Yin Qi couldn't control the excitement in his heart. He could sense that after Yin Hong's death, the destiny of Yin Manor's young master belonged to him. Because of that heavenly destiny descending on his body, he was even able to learn that there was an ancient god's corpse demon in the Night Pearl Small World. "Since you have already discovered it, let's go and take out the ancient god's corpse demon." Being an influential person, Yin Qi prepared to return to the chariot right away. Yet the expressions of the disciples of Yin Manor kneeling on the ground became unsightly at that moment, and they said with a stammer, "But someone has already entered the god ruin, Yin Son of Heaven." When Yin Qi heard those words, his expression instantly changed, and he coldly snorted. The presence of a true immortal erupted from his body, enveloping the entire master hall. The main hall's temperature plummeted, and the faces of the disciples of Yin Manor turned paler under the pressure of a true immortal. None of them dared to utter another word. Yin Qi looked at Yin Manor's disciples kneeling on the ground as he asked in a gloomy voice, "Who dares to make a move towards my stuff?" The leader of the Yin Manor's disciples said, "It was discovered by Lang family's young master, who also invited me and 9 palaces disciples to make a trip there. The ancient god corpse demon suddenly awakened, and we left the god ruin without wasting time there. After coming out, we learned that Lang Yan had obtained the information from the Alliance's true immortal Yan Tian." When he said that, Yin Qi suddenly smiled without saying anything and pulled back his true immortal presence. As someone belonging to one of the larger powers of beyond the heavens, he had some understanding toward the relations between all powers. Lang family was considered one of the top powers as well. They walked the path of runes, and they also had a late-stage Great Principal Golden Immortal in their clan. Once Yin Hong died, Godfather chose Yin Qi to be the Yin Son of Heaven, the young master of Yin Manor. This meant that his foundation was unstable and he couldn't be extremely arrogant toward Lang Yan. He had to give him the amount of face expected of him. However, Lang family's young master only had the strength of a late-stage tribulation passing stage, so even safely escaping from the ancient god's corpse demon would be considered as extremely lucky for him. But even if Yin Qi couldn't do anything to Lang family, he could make a move on the Alliance's true immortal Yan Tian. If he did not settle this matter, then no one would fear him, a newly promoted Yin Son of Heaven. The entire hall turned extremely quiet as Yin Qi contemplated. There was no sound in the area at all. At that moment, a carefree voice echoed from outside, and a red figure dropped at the gate. Its excited voice seemed to be trying to curry favor. The sudden visit by Yin son of heaven to the Night Pearl small world has made this Yan forget his manners. After saying that, the newcomer went to Yin son of heaven and showed himself. He then looked at Yin Qi as he bowed down. Yin son of heaven had rushed through the trip, so this Yan arranged a proper hall for you to take a rest. The Yin son of heaven looked at the true immortal Yan Tian with a cold light in his eyes and a disdainful smile on his face. Every son of Yin Emperor had some strange traits. The previous Yin son of heaven, Yin Hong, was extremely cruel and enjoyed absorbing the vitality of virgin maidens, while the present Yin son of heaven, Yin Qi, was innately paranoid and extremely shrewd. Before he even took the position of Yin son of heaven, there was a rumor in Yin Manor that if anyone touched any of his things, they would be devoured by 1,000 devils, and after dying, their skin would be used as a cushion chair. As if to make sure everyone understood it, the Yin Manor had countless cushions of human skin, all of which were from the people Yin Qi had killed. Although Yan Tian didn't know that the god ruin was created by Yin Emperor, he was still the one who had given its location to Lang Yan, which violated Yin Qi bottom line. In the eyes of the disciples of Yin Manor, regardless of how true immortal Yan Tian tried to curry favor with him, Yin Qi would wipe his soul and add him to his collection of human cushions. But true immortal Yan Tian did not know that. Go rest? Yan Tian, do you know why I came to this Night Pearl small world? I came to subdue the ancient god's corpse demon buried here by Godfather many years ago. That corpse demon was bestowed to me as a puppet by Godfather. But alas, I heard something from my subordinates. This god ruin was discovered by someone, and the key to the ruin was even divided among a number of people. Something which originally belonged to me has disappeared. Yan Tian, do you think that I would still be in a good mood to take a rest after that? Yin Qi said while looking down on Yan Tian. After straightening up and taking note of Yin Qi's face, Yan Tian suddenly recalled that he had used the location of a god ruin in a transaction. He had exchanged it for Lang Yan's promise that after he became the clan leader and one of those who control the alliance, Yan Tian could also advance and gain the position of a great elder. Apart from the rulers, the great elders were the highest power in the alliance. The Night Pearl small world itself could be said to form a faction, and the position of a great elder could be considered as covering heaven with one hand. But Yan Tian comforted himself that his luck could not be so bad that the location of the god ruin which he gave to Lang Yan would be the same one as the one of the corpse demon reared by the Yin family. Yin son of heaven, what does your distinguished self want to say? I cannot understand it. If you want to find the nurturing ground left behind by the Yin Emperor, I will dispatch people of the Night Pearl small world to find it. As long as I find any information, it will reach you first. Chapter 936, Decisive Kill. The hall was completely silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard clearly. There wasn't the least bit of liveliness to be found. Yan Tian looked at the newly promoted Yin son of heaven being silent and began to panic in his heart. Although his position was very high in the Night Pearl small world, he was just a manager appointed by the alliance. He was only a small fish in the alliance of Beyond the Heavens. Moreover, he was a rogue cultivator without an enormous power backing him, so Yin Qi was an existence he couldn't afford to offend. Not right then at the least. In the silence, time seemed to have slowed down. Yan Tian, a true immortal, felt his heart grow heavier and heavier, and large beads of sweat began to form on his forehead. Yan Tian, what do you still want to investigate? Haven't you already handed over the god ruins left behind by Godfather to Lang family's young master? Oh right, you are only a rogue cultivator without any foundation, who depended upon the support of the alliance to become the manager of this small world, so naturally you want to continue crawling up. You wanted to curry favor with Lang family's young master, and to make him your backer was indeed a correct choice. That is all normal, but you should know that there are some people that you cannot offend, Yin Qi said while absent-mindedly playing with the ring on his hand. After hearing that, Yan Tian's face turned deathly pale. He was just thinking that the god ruins which he gave out could not be the god ruins created by Yin Emperor. After all, if he did give away the god ruins created by Yin Emperor to Lang Yan, it would thoroughly offend Yin Qi, which would be a huge problem. Lang Yan knelt down on the ground and anxiously said, "Please forgive me, Yin Son of Heaven. At that time, when I gifted the god ruins to young Master Ling, I didn't know that it was created by Yin Emperor for your distinguished self. Otherwise, even if I had 10,000 times more courage, I wouldn't dare to touch it." Yin Qi looked at Yan Tian, who was a true immortal like him, being so flustered and apologizing with a shivering body, and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Authority certainly had its benefits. Previously, even if he was Yin Hong's brother, he still would have needed to be respectful to Yan Tian. But right then, when the majority of true immortals saw him, they were the ones who needed to be respectful. It was all because he had become the young master of Yin Manor. Yan Tian, who was kneeling on the ground without daring to move, felt somewhat bitter. The reason why he had gifted the god ruins to Lang Yan was because he wanted to advance by another step in the alliance and obtain even more resources to become a golden immortal. Yet who would have known that the god ruins he chose would surprisingly be the one created by Yin Emperor? Back then, the origin world was not sealed, and Yin Emperor was an emperor monarch with the cultivation of a great principal golden immortal who a normal member of the alliance. But right now, Yin Emperor had become a quasi-sage with whom few people could contend. If Yin Qi killed Yan Tian, the alliance couldn't possibly find trouble with Yin Manor. Lang family also wouldn't stick out and offend the Yin Emperor. At that moment, if Yan Tian wanted to live, he could only acknowledge his mistakes and push his position as low as possible. You cannot use not knowing as an excuse, for Yin Manor is also in the alliance. The god ruins in the small worlds cannot be entered without using the secret key specific to them. All secret keys are dropped in various corners of the small world and need to be dug out, but you directly handed over the secret key to Lang Yan in order to curry favor with him. Yin Qi paused after saying that. He looked at Yan Tian, whose body was shivering, and then continued. While it isn't wrong for a rogue cultivator like you to try and curry favor with a larger power, your problem is your terrible luck. You passed on the information of the wrong god ruins to Lang Yan, so. Yan Tian had his head lowered and all he could see was a pair of shoes, but after hearing the pause in the speech, he raised his head to look at Yin Qi's smiling face as well as the fingertip pointing toward the space between his eyes. My Yin Manor lacks a true immortal ghost, you remedy that problem. After he said that, Lang Yan's eyes turned lifeless, and his body turned into ashes that fell on the ground without any sound. The next moment, an exceptionally formidable soul appeared in the domain surrounding Yin Qi with constant roars. After a while, the disciples of Yin Manor in the hall began to shout one phrase. Formidable Yin Son of Heaven, formidable Yin Son of Heaven. Let's go, we will go to those god ruins and see how formidable that ancient god's corpse demon is, Yin Qi languidly said. His figure flickered then, and he moved to the chariot. The white-faced coachman lowered the curtain, sat down on the board, and used the golden whip toward the two Yin phoenixes. They turned into a blur and rose into the air as the disciples of Yin Manor followed one after another. In the mountain cave, Li Yunmu looked at the corpse demon on the ground with a puzzled expression. According to the system, a new soul was born in Ru Shao's body, and he didn't intend to wipe it out. Yet when he tried to pull out the godhood from the corpse demon's chest, the corpse demon sat down on the ground in terror like a 3-year-old child and began to wail. Li Yunmu felt quite awkward. How could anyone say that the person before him was an ancient god with matchless majesty in his previous life? The corpse demon was surprisingly sitting on the ground and wailing. It was completely out of the ordinary. Fortunately, ancient god Ru Shao had handsome features and was not a muscled man with 9 heads. If he had been a muscular man, Li Yunmu would have immediately turned around and left the god ruins regardless of whether the person had any potential or not. After a long time, ancient god Ru Shao choked down the sobs, and tears stopped flowing out of his eyes. Li Yunmu extended his hand then, and divine light flew out of it to strike Ru Shao. Before he could start crying again, the divine light entered his glabella and produced a spell seal, which made him lose consciousness. The Tortoise spell seal was given to Li Yunmu by Yan Wangqiu. It was one of the lowest level cultivation secrets of Gumang real world, and it was used when foundation stage cultivators were unable to release their energy or were underwater. After obtaining it, the system had reversed its effects. In his hands, the new Tortoise seal spell could seal the person without injuring their soul, which was what made it the most suitable way to deal with ancient god Ru-Shao. Li Yunmu instantly went to ancient god Ru-Shao's side, and his left hand passed through his chest to take the godhood hidden within. Once he brought his hand out, the godhood appeared in the mountain cave. The entire space seemed to have frozen, and faint golden threads floated in the air. Since we have taken out Ru-Shao's godhood, the metal attributes in the space have begun to gather around it. It really is powerful. There shouldn't be any difference between using power of belief and using godhood to become a god, but to me, it seems like there's an enormous difference. Godhood seems much more formidable than power of belief. Your words are correct. Although power of belief can allow a half-god to become a god, such a god would be no match for a god who used godhood. After all, godhoods contain laws of grand chaos and allow gods to obtain enlightenment from time to time. Those who become gods using power of belief find it extremely difficult to gain any comprehension from heaven and earth in the future. Thus, the gods created from power of belief walk the path of refining bloodline ability, the system explained in Li Yunmu's mind. Then what's with the rumor in the origin world that there wasn't any difference between the two? Li Yunmu said with suspicion. Chapter 937, Scam. Every world has 3,000 grand chaos, so the godhood congealed from them can also only number to 3,000. The direction I chose back then was wrong. I gave out 3,000 godhoods in the beginning, so there were no more godhoods, and when the heirs of some ancient gods wanted to become gods, the power of belief just happened to arrive in the origin world and they discovered its use. The 5 master gods also proclaimed publicly that there was no difference in gods created using godhoods and those who become gods using power of belief. Everyone believed it so much that the falsehood has survived until now. At that time, I hadn't discovered the dangers of power of belief, so I also didn't refute it. Li Yunmu did not reply. Using power of belief to become a god seemed like a better choice since only needed sufficient amount of power of belief and wouldn't have to pass the 9 tribulations like the people of the Gumang real world to become an immortal. But when all was said and done, those who became gods using power of belief were false gods whose strength could not compare to that of the gods who became such using godhood. If the gods of the origin world were told that using godhood would make them stronger than using power of belief, every one of them would probably snort disdainfully. The knowledge that the two were equal had been with them for countless years, so it had long ago become a fact in their hearts. Can you break down 1/5 of this metal attribute godhood? I want it for Ju Kingzi, Li Yunmu said while transporting the metal attributed godhood to the system. After a moment, a pearl-sized golden ball appeared in his hand. It was releasing a dazzling radiance, but it didn't manifest abnormal changes like when it was full. Do you really intend to hand over this 1/5 of the metal attributed godhood to that youngster? You should know that although he has a good moral character, he is still someone from the Gumang real world. Once the two worlds begin to battle, you will be enemies. Are you really willing to raise his strength? What exactly are you thinking? The system demanded. It greatly loathed the Gumang real world. Life was good when the two worlds were drifting through the void, but once the Gumang real world encountered them, the two began to fight. The Gumang real world even used power of belief to cause internal strife in the origin world and wore down its strength. The system could see Ju King's kind nature, but it still did not approve of Li Yunmu's methods. Using the origin world's godhood to amplify the strength of someone from the Gumang real world would be an action of an idiot. You think bestowing 1/5 of the metal attributed godhood on Ju Kingzi isn't a good idea? But I don't think so. First, I have an agreement to use the godhood for Ju Kingzi with Yan Wangqiu. From her mouth, we learned about the cultivation system of the Gumang real world, which made us decide to reform the world. You should understand that once this reform succeeds, the crisis of the origin world will be resolved. Compared to that, 1/5 of the godhood could only allow 5 people to become immortals, which isn't much. 5 immortals won't have much influence on the general situation. Second, the Gumang real world uses god ruins to strengthen their younger generation, so why should we not collaborate with Zhu Kingzi to obtain the godhoods of this small world and kidnap the younger generation of his world to increase the laws of grand daos of our world? After those words, a sinister smile appeared on Li Yunmu's face. The system thought for a minute about what he said. It thought it understood what he was trying to say, but still asked suspiciously, "You mean you plan to bring the cultivators of the small world to consolidate the laws of grand daos of the origin world? But that's only what you think. Would Zhu Kingzi really agree to that? Just a moment ago, when you asked about the cultivation methods of the Gumang real world, his first thought was to self-detonate." Li Yunmu collected ancient god Ru Shao into his heavenly world through his palm. Once a hole opened at the hollow of his palm, the constant chatter of 15 gods could be heard through the large gate. They were babbling like crazy lunatics, but when Ru Shao fell next to the box, the 15 gods sealed within instantly became silent. They sensed the presence of ancient god from Ru Shao's body. Where did this ancient god come from? He has surprisingly lost consciousness. He seems to have fallen from outside. Did this bastard's cultivation reach ancient god realm? We can't get out, we can't get out. With him in ancient god realm, how will clan patriarch rescue us? The door of the heavenly world slowly closed, and Li Yunmu calmly said, "I'm not thinking of collaborating with Zhu Kingzi. He is a stubborn person and not pragmatic. Instead, I will collaborate with Yan Wangqiu, and she will agree. Although her strength is lower, she can persuade Zhu Kingzi. She is a very opinionated person." Li Yunmu didn't wait for the system's reply and directly used the restriction-destroying ring to leave the god ruins. White light flashed, and he found himself standing on the platform halfway up the mountain. The red-crowned cranes were in front of him. Zhu Kingzi looked at Li Yunmu, who had appeared out of nowhere, and suspiciously asked, "All dead?" Yan Wangqiu threw the chicken leg on the ground and disdainfully said, "Naturally they are dead. Li Yunmu had gone to take care of them, so how could Lang Yan's group still be alive? But it is better that they are dead, otherwise, if left alive, they would try to harm us. Senior apprentice brother, you must remember, our profound sword pavilion doesn't owe anything to Lang Yan. And this time, Lang Yan gave us the key fragment to let us leave first. His group died because of their own greed." Zhu Kingzi nodded without saying anything to her words. Yan Wangqiu jumped off the red-crowned crane and arrived in front of Li Yunmu with an extended small hand. Her eyes were shaking as she asked, "What about the thing you promised?" After seeing Yan Wangqiu's expression, Li Yunmu directly took out the golden ball. She took it, and the pleasant surprise on her face faded away. "How can it be so small? Can it really help senior apprentice brother become a god?" she asked with some dissatisfaction. "It is more than enough. Not only can it help Zhu Kingzi become an immortal, it will also help you and the twins to become gods. Frankly speaking, this is only 1/5 of the godhood. When we made our deal, I had promised to give you godhood, but hadn't specified the amount. I am a god of the origin world, however, so I naturally cannot help you people of the Gumang real world increase your strength without any reason," Li Yunmu calmly said. "That's also right. With the transfer of godhood, the agreement between us is concluded." Yan Wangqiu put the golden ball into her spatial ring and returned to sit on the red-crowned crane. "Since this is the case, we will part ways. Li Yunmu, you must remember to leave this small world quickly. If the people of the Alliance discover you, they will send someone to kill you. Although the highest cultivation allowed in the origin world is only that of a true immortal, it won't be like that forever. If you went on a killing spree in this small world, then once the seal of the origin world is removed, the Alliance would definitely send people to kill you, and there would be elder ancestors who have a cultivation of great principle golden immortal among them. When Yan Wangkai finished talking, she began to nibble on another chicken leg while her other hand patted the red-crowned crane. However, Li Yunmu released his presence to pressure the red-crowned crane, and it shuddered. The best did not dare to flap its wings. Chapter 938, Looting Together. Yan Wangkai looked at Li Yunmu, and a light flashed through her gaze. I have already told you all the cultivation methods of Profound Sword Pavilion which I know. I don't know anything else, she said slowly. Zhu Qingzi and the twins also looked at Li Yunmu with a hint of alarm in their heart. After entering the god ruins, Lang Yan's group had been killed. It did not matter that he was dead though, since as long as they did not involve themselves with Li Yunmu anymore, Lang family would not be able to place the blame on them. They also weren't the only ones who had entered the god ruins, so there were also the disciples of Yin Manor and 9 palaces who could be used as excuses. Once Yan Wangkai and Li Yunmu's agreement had been concluded, the matter should be considered as over. They should all go their separate ways, but for some reason, he prevented them from leaving. Dao brother, we will quickly return to the Gumang realm world, so you shouldn't stop us, Zhu Qingzi slowly said from the side. Li Yunmu shook his head as he looked at the nervous expressions of Yan Wangkai and the others. A smile appeared on his face and he said, I have stopped you all not for the cultivation secrets, but rather because. Before he could finish speaking, Yan Wangkai interrupted him. I don't like you. Li Yunmu shot a glance at Yan Wangkai. His expression remained calm, but a hint of embarrassment entered his voice. What the hell are you thinking? I wanted to ask whether you all have the intention of joining me in robbing others. After hearing his words, Yan Wangkai was slightly startled, and her nervous expression faded away. She turned to look at Li Yunmu and loudly asked, What did you say just now? Robbing. That's right, robbing. We should go and loot the other god ruins in this Night Pearl small world and even the other cultivators who possess godhoods. I will take 90%, while you will get 10%. What do you say? Li Yunmu offered with a smile. Although the Night Pearl small world wasn't very large, it was not that small either. In such an area, who could say how many god ruins were present? If Li Yunmu could get his hands on them, he could start the reform of the origin world as soon as he returned. When Zhu Qingzi heard Li Yunmu's words, he heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, when they were in the god ruins, the reason why he had agreed to Li Yunmu's advice of using the key fragment to leave was because of Yan Wangkai's words. They had allowed him to realize that he had indeed acted foolishly in the previous matters. The favor which he owed was already repaid, so Lang Yan's life and death no longer had any relation to him. But right then, Li Yunmu was speaking about taking all the god ruins as well as cultivators of the alliance in the small world. Such looting would offend the entire alliance, and if someone from the alliance found out that Zhu Qingzi and the others had participated in it, then not only would they be killed, even the entire Profound Sword Pavilion would be buried alongside them. Dao brother, please don't make jokes like that. We are people of the Gumang real world and cannot follow you in doing such immoral acts. We won't participate in this matter. After he finished talking, Zhu Qingzi looked at Yan Wangkai and saw that she still had an astonished expression on her face. Upon seeing her expression, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Her expression showed that she also wouldn't agree on participating in such a matter. Yan Wangkai frowned and asked in a trembling voice, If we don't participate, what will you do? Li Yunmu saw that Yan Wangkai and the others weren't willing to participate, which was just as he expected. Whether for good or bad, they were people of the Gumang real world, and if they really colluded with him, it wouldn't be any different from betraying their world. The reason why he wanted to collaborate with them was only to make his task slightly more convenient. But just as he was about to open his mouth, the system's voice echoed in his brain with a laugh. 50 kilometers away, there are people of Yin Manor advancing over here. Seems like there's a big shot among them. After hearing those words, Li Yunmu's gaze flickered. He looked at Zhu Qingzi and the others and he said with a profound smile, "Since you don't agree, then I can only say it is a pity. I won't force you all, so we will part ways here. If brother you regret it later, you can follow in this direction to look for me." While saying that, Li Yunmu pointed in the southwest direction. Zhu Qingzi nodded and lightly patted the red-crowned crane, which rose and flew in the direction of Yin Manor's disciples. Soon, it turned into a black dot that disappeared in the distance. You intentionally pointed toward the southwest so that Zhu Qingzi and others chose the direction of Yin Manor's disciples. You are really treacherous, the system said with a sigh, seeing through Li Yunmu's small trick straight away. Li Yunmu had told Zhu Qingzi that he would advance southwest so Zhu Qingzi and the others would choose the opposite direction in order to avoid getting into trouble with him. And that direction was precisely the one that the big shot of Yin Manor took to reach the god ruins. Once the two groups came into contact, Yin Manor's big shot wouldn't let them go before learning about what had happened with the godhood. Afraid of being tortured for interrogation, Yan Wangkai definitely wouldn't sit still and would come to find him with Zhu Qingzi. It is good. If I want to empty out all the god ruins of this small world quickly and abduct the tribulation passing stage youngsters in passing, I will definitely need help of someone from the Gumang real world. And rather than looking for anyone else, it would be better to work with Yan Wangkai again, Li Yunmu said unhurriedly while looking at the direction that Zhu Qingzi and the others had picked. But until they are forced to their limits, they wouldn't collaborate with me. After saying that, Li Yunmu began to proceed toward the southwest, slowly moving through the sky. On the other side, in the sky to the northeast, Zhu Qingzi and the others were riding on red-crowned cranes toward the headquarters of the alliance. On the way, Yan Wangkai turned to look back from time to time and heaved a sigh of relief when she did not see anyone. When she turned her head toward the front once more, she said to Zhu Qingzi, who had a concerned expression on his face, "Senior apprentice brother, Li Yunmu provided a godhood for us to become immortals, so it's better if we return to the Alliance's headquarters. Otherwise, if we remain behind, trouble will come knocking on our door." But what a pity, Li Yunmu was a little petty-minded and only gave us 1/5 of the godhood. He is really stingy. Junior apprentice sister, it's already pretty good that brother Li Yunmu gave us the godhood. If he hadn't, there was nothing you or I could have done. But doing this kind of thing once is enough. If we did it again and again, then we would not even have our corpses for burying, Zhu Qingzi said with a lingering fear. When the matter of collaboration appeared in his mind, he felt a chill go down his spine once more. It was a goodbye for then and forever. That was the only thought in Zhu Qingzi's mind. Yan Wangkai took out a chicken leg from her spatial ring and began to slowly eat it as she said, "Originally, I wanted the complete godhood. It might be able to support profound sword pavilions so we could also become a major power in the alliance. Our situation would become different then and we wouldn't need to ask others to provide us more slots in small worlds like this." After saying that, Yan Wangkai's large eyes began to roam around, and she leaned over near Zhu Qingzi's ear. "How about we don't return to the real world and go to loot others?" Li Yunmu's words were correct. It is easier to steal resources, and we wouldn't need to worry about it with him around. "Junior apprentice sister, you are crazy." Zhu Qingzi hadn't finished talking when his expression changed. Panic appeared on his face when in the sky before them he saw a chariot appear out of nowhere. Yan Wangkai was even more anxious and returned the chicken leg back into her spatial ring. Chapter 939, Escape to the Real World. The twins sitting in the back hadn't sensed the change in the expressions of Yan Wangkai and Zhu Qingzi. They were tightly holding onto the pure white hairs of the red-crowned cranes and looking at the two yin phoenixes pulling a chariot with curiosity in their gazes. "Which power do you belong to?" Yin Qi languid voice came from the chariot. When Zhu Qingzi and Yan Wangkai heard him, they feigned calmness and said, "We belong to a small faction, Lord will probably not know it. May I ask why is Lord stopping us?" "How brazen! Do you know who is inside the chariot? How dare you ask so many questions?" the disciples of Yin Manor flying on the two sides of the chariot shouted in an icy voice, and the black fog surrounding their bodies changed into countless malicious ghosts. They created a miniature underworld out of nowhere. The twins shrank back, seemingly intimidated by it. Zhu Qingzi frowned slightly while attentively watching the chariot. "We are disciples of Profound Sword Pavilion. What does the Lord of Yin Manor want to ask us?" he said in a tranquil voice. "Right, is it that Profound Sword Pavilion which previously had a great principal golden immortal and is in possession of the lineage of a sword immortal? But it seems like it has decayed quite a bit. Back in the day, your sect ancestor fought together with my lord father. Since they are former acquaintances, then let them go, don't bother them unnecessarily," Yin Qi unhurriedly said from the chariot. Zhu Qingzi looked down for a moment, then he calmly said, "Many thanks to Yin Son of Heaven. We will leave first." After saying that, he patted the back of the red-crowned crane. They took a detour around the chariot and turned into a streak of light which disappeared quickly. "Continue. Stop everyone who has been near those god ruins," Yin Qi said in light tone from inside the chariot. One of the disciples of Yin Manor on the side walked to the front and said, "Yin Son of Heaven, those disciples of Profound Sword Pavilion from just a moment ago had entered the god ruins with Lang Yan. After we departed, the disciples of 9 palaces also left. Only Lang Yan and the disciples of Profound Sword Pavilion remained inside. Now." Yin Qi. After a moment of silence, Yin Qi's expression turned gloomy, and he said in a serene tone while leaning against the cushion, "What did you say just now?" "Just a moment ago, Yin Son of Heaven, your distinguished self said that they were the later generations of a former acquaintance, so we should let them go, so I did not say anything. But after seeing Profound Sword Pavilion leave so hurriedly, I realized that something was wrong. Send people after them. The one with the highest cultivation among the disciples of Profound Sword Pavilion is only at tribulation passing stage, so you should dispatch 3 tribulating passing stage experts to hunt them. But by all means, don't kill them. After all, when all's said and done, the sect master of Profound Sword Pavilion is a peak golden immortal powerhouse who might be even more powerful than the weaker great principal golden immortal experts if he chose to fight with his life on the line," Yin Qi said. When the disciples of Profound Sword Pavilion came out, Lang Yan should have also come out with them. It seemed like the ancient god's corpse demon was still inside the god ruins. "Let's go, we will hurry to the god ruins." 3 disciples of Yin Manor separated from the chariot and rushed into the direction in which Zhu Qingzi had left. In the meantime, the chariot continued to advance in the direction of the god ruins. "Let's be quick and return directly to the base camp of the Alliance. The appearance of Yin Manor's people near the god ruins isn't a good omen. Li Yunmu took out the metal attributed godhood, so if the Yin Manor's disciples don't discover it, they will definitely find trouble with us," Yan Wangqiu anxiously said while savagely nibbling on a chicken leg. The red-crowned crane emitted a loud cry, and its speed suddenly increased as it advanced toward the direction of the Alliance's base camp. Perhaps those disciples of Yin Manor were just passing by. "Junior apprentice sister, you don't need to be anxious," Zhu Qingzi said while taking hold of the twins and moving them to the front. "How can I not be anxious? Yin Son of Heaven comes from the Yin Manor, and what's more, didn't you see that some of the Yin Manor's disciples with him were those who had entered the god ruins with us? That group of Yin Manor's disciples will tell about the events in the god ruins to Yin Son of Heaven. If they went inside and found that Lang Yan and the others had died and that the corpse demon of the ancient god had disappeared, who do you think they will look for then?" Yan Wangqiu asked. "They will look for us." As Zhu Qingzi said that, he turned his head back and saw 3 balls of black fog in the sky. They had countless malicious spirits residing within them and created a mini version of hell. Coarse crowning echoed behind them like a cassette tape, and an icy voice spoke up. "Halt, you disciples of Profound Sword Pavilion. Yin Son of Heaven has a request." When Zhu Qingzi heard those words, he handed over the twins to Yan Wangqiu and placed the red-crowned cranes in the beast pouch. The next instant, he made a spell formation in midair and drew the sword hanging on his back. He then grabbed Yan Wangqiu and transformed into a long rainbow that rushed toward the Alliance base camp at an extremely fast speed. When Yin Manor's disciples behind him saw that, they chased after with loud shouts. "What should we do now that 3 tribulation-passing powerhouses are after us? I told you that Yin Son of Heaven has sensed something. Damn it, if we returned with these disciples of Yin Manor, then it would be no different from offering ourselves to be killed. I heard rumors in the real world that the newly promoted Yin Son of Heaven is extremely cruel," Yan Wangqiu said with hatred in her voice while tightly holding the twins. It wasn't that they had thought that the matter of God ruins would not be discovered, but that it would be discovered so quickly. Even before they came out of the Night Pearl small world, they were noticed by the disciples of Yin Manor. Right then, the only way out for them was to return to the Alliance's base camp and then Profound Sword Pavilion. As long as they returned, they would not need to be afraid of death. Although Profound Sword Pavilion was a weak power, it was still a member of the Alliance. Moreover, the sect master of Profound Sword Pavilion was a peak golden immortal powerhouse, so Yin Manor wouldn't come knocking down on their sect just for an ancient god's corpse demon. "Senior apprentice brother, perhaps we should return and collaborate with Li Yunmu. Yin Son of Heaven is already suspicious of us, and if he doesn't see any corpse demon of an ancient god after entering the god ruins, he will definitely blame us. So we might as well use the option to collaborate with Li Yunmu and ask him to abduct all the disciples of Yin Manor and 9 palaces. That way, there wouldn't be anyone who could suspect us regarding this matter," Yan Wangqiu suddenly said after taking a look at the palaces floating in the horizon. It was clear to her that Yin Son of Heaven had already fixed his gaze on them, so if they returned to the sect, they would bring trouble back home. But if they collaborated with Li Yunmu, such a thing would not happen. Since they obtained a godhood, it would be best to remove all traces of the matter. Zhu King's expression changed, and he said with some hesitation, "Collaborating with Li Yunmu is also like entering a tiger's den. Although we obtained a godhood this time, the blame also fell on us. We can't do it, junior apprentice sister. If we chose the crazy option of following him, perhaps even the sect master would not be able to protect us in the future." After saying that, he looked back while rushing forward. Yi Manor disciples covered in the black fog were still chasing after them. But even if their cultivation was similar to his, they were unable to overtake him in terms of speed. If they continued proceeding at the same speed toward the Alliance's base camp, the 3 disciples of Yin Manor would be unable to stop them from returning to the Gumang real world. Chapter 940, Chase. The 3 late-stage tribulation-passing experts looked at Zhu Qingzi, who had turned into a sword rainbow with calm expressions. Golden cannons appeared in their hands out of nowhere, and they shot 3 rays of golden light, which blossomed into a large mass of golden smoke, in the direction of the Alliance. S.H.A.D.W. After seeing the large mass of golden smoke behind them, Zhu Qingzi turned back and saw an illusionary barrier appearing in front of the Alliance's palaces in the horizon. The next instant, he changed his direction to the one in which Li Yunmu had said he would go southwest. Even if Zhu Qingzi belonged to the sword lineage, he wasn't an enemy of 3 late-stage tribulation-passing experts. If they were really brought to the Yin Son of Heaven by the disciples of Yin Manor, they would be executed without ability to fight back. Right then, their only way out was Li Yunmu. Although collaborating with him was similar to digging their own grave, but when all was said and done, they would retain their life while being on his side. Zhu Qingzi released all of cultivation as he rushed southwest. When the 3 disciples of Yin Manor saw that, they instantly changed their direction and rushed in the same direction as well. The presences of 3 immortals flew out of the Alliance Palace and stayed in the sky for some time. People of Yin Manor? When did a lord of Yin Manor come to this Night Pearl small world? According to a report from a subordinate of mine, the Yin Son of Heaven of Yin Manor has arrived and killed Yan Tian. Haha, Yan Tian was really out of luck, offending the newly promoted Yin Son of Heaven. Just 1 manager less and nothing else. Another portion of resources of this world will be divided among us. The 3 disciples of Yin Manor are chasing someone. Should we assist them or not? We must assist them. Although the alliance is also considered a large power, the Yin Emperor is only one step away from stepping into the Sage realm. Once the seal of the origin world is broken, it is possible that he will take that step. After speaking, the 3 true immortals rushed southwest at a fast speed, which was comparable to that of H.A.C.K's sword. The sword rainbow streaked across the sky for only a fleeting moment. Soon after, the black fog surrounding the disciples of Yin Manor turned the whole sky into hell, with roars of spirits and ghosts echoing in it from time to time. Some tribulation-passing powerhouses just happened to come out of another god ruins at that moment, and they raised their heads to look at the sword rainbow streaking through the sky. After a moment, 3 disciples of Yin Manor appeared. Among the roars of ghosts, threads of green smoke appeared in their Yin domain as they increased their speed. What's going on? Where did that cultivator walking the path of Sword Immortal, rushing in the front come from, and what kind of hatred does he have with disciples of Yin Manor? All 3 disciples of Yin Manor were tribulation passing stage experts, so I am afraid that cultivator will fall. Yin Manor's power is enormous. Those who offend it will naturally not have a good ending. What a pity! The 2 cultivators who had just walked out of the god ruins stood atop the mountain with heads raised and discussed what they saw. As they watched, the presences of the 3 disciples of Yin Manor disappeared, and the pressure of 3 true immortals from the alliance appeared. The sight of them turned the 2 cultivators standing on the top of the mountain deathly pale. What offense exactly did this sword immortal commit? He actually managed to attract a joint hunt from the disciples of Yin Manor and the alliance's true immortals. This sword immortal will certainly die in this hunt. Let's go. It's not appropriate to learn more about such matters. The 2 cultivators standing on the mountain hurriedly left. H.A.C.K was a sword rainbow flying toward the southwest, but he didn't sense Li Yunmu's presence and felt gloomy in his heart. When they separated, Li Yunmu had said that he was going in this direction, but he had rushed for a few hundred miles as a sword rainbow but did not see Li Yunmu's silhouette. It made him suspect that Li Yunmu might have returned to the origin world. If he had returned, then that would be really bad. Once that thought appeared in H.A.C.K's mind, he immediately killed it. Yin Manor had dispatched 3 late-stage tribulation-passing powerhouses and then asked the alliance for assistance. With such a group of hunters, only a golden immortal almighty like Li Yunmu could save them. H.A.C.K gnashed his teeth and continued to rush southwest while searching for a particular figure. After a moment, his face turned deathly pale as the energy in his body reached its limit. He could only continue flying at full strength for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. After that, the 3 tribulation-passing experts and people dispatched by the alliance would overtake them. Why are you running, disciple of profound sword pavilion? Yin Son of Heaven only wants to ask you a few things, but you seem to have a guilty conscience. Did you really obtain something? If you obtain something, then follow us to see Yin Son of Heaven to exchange for it. Yin Son of Heaven is magnanimous and will naturally spare your life. But if you wait until you exhaust your strength, then not only will you die, you will also implicate your section. The 3 late-stage tribulation-passing experts tried to persuade H.A.C.K one by one. I don't believe your words. H.A.C.K shouted out in a cold voice. The sword energy rising from his body increased dramatically, and he used the wind to increase his strength slightly. He rushed southwest like a fish through water. The sword rainbow in the front and the Yin domain behind it moved at the same speed. They maintained an equilibrium without any change. Yet another power appeared in the sky, then the 3 immortals of the alliance. The 3 managers rushed after the disciples of Yin Manor with their hearts filled with resentment. The 3 of them were shrewd people, so they knew that if they didn't continue the chase together with the disciples of Yin Manor, they would commit the crime of not respecting their senior, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Thus, the 3 men used their full strength to rush over to the side of Yin Manor's disciples. You all have been chasing a tribulation-passing expert for so long, you all are really one of the managers said. One disciple of Yin Manor coldly snorted and gloomily said, "He is a sword immortal. If you were at the same level as him and could catch up to him, I would pay respects to you as my master." The manager who had spoken just then began to laugh without refuting it. Sword immortals were recognized as the most powerful cultivators among those on the same level. Their speed was the fastest, so only if someone trained in the laws of wind, they might be superior to them in this field. The disciples of Yin Manor really had some ability based on the fact that they were not falling too far behind. As the manager thought about that, resentment began to rise in his heart. Another manager's gaze flickered, and he inquired, how did this disciple of Profound Sword Pavilion make Yin Son of Heaven unhappy to the point that he even issued the order to make us, the Alliance's managers, assist you? Don't ask what you shouldn't know, or your heads might roll and your soul will be destroyed, the disciples of Yin Manor said in unison with a hint of threat in their voice. The managers looked at each other, then revealed smiles, and the manager who had ridiculed them at the beginning said, "Since Yin Son of Heaven wants us to assist you, the three of us will naturally do our utmost." The moment he said that, his true immortal's body was surrounded by immortal energy, which transformed into a cool breeze as he turned into a blur and went after Zhu Qingzi. The distance between two sides began to shrink at an astonishing pace. "The three of you take your time. We will go first and subdue the sword immortal of Profound Sword Pavilion." The other two true immortals also used their immortal techniques and rushed toward Zhu Qingzi. In the blink of an eye, the three of them left behind the three tribulation-passing experts.